Published, 1651 Eastern Standard Time, the 10th of January 2018. Updated, 2026 Eastern Standard Time, the 10th of January 2018. By the time this tie is decided, Arsene Wenger will be back where he belongs. This cannot have been the most comfortable evening for him, hustled into the press box, flanked by minders, courtesy of his touchline ban. Wenger is so experienced at being barred from the dugout that he even knows his preferred view from the naughty chair here. He didn't like the second tier last time, too complicated getting down to the dressing rooms. Told the proximity of the team area to the press box, he opted for that instead, taking his place alongside people who had variously told him to quit, stand down, that his era at Arsenal had run its course. Arsenal gained a good first leg result as they drew 0-0 at Chelsea in their Carabao Cup semi-final, but they lost. Jack Wilshere, Gunners captain Wilshere, went down holding his leg after it was struck by a cross from Chelsea midfielder Danny Drinkwater. Arsenal boss Arsene Wenger, top, centre, served. The second installment of his three-match touchline ban at Stamford Bridge, banished from the sidelines because of a recent outburst. 68-year-old Wenger sat among journalists in the press box. Instead, Wenger was joined in the press box by first-team coach Jens Lehmann, who wore an earpiece to allow him to talk to the bench. A goalless draw at Chelsea was not the most defiant riposte, but nor was it the white flag some had expected when Arsenal's best player, Alexis Sanchez, was named on the substitutes bench. The sight of Chelsea's creative heart, Eden Hazard, being replaced by Tiémoué Bakayoko with 10 minutes to go including stoppage time was therefore a victory of sorts for Wenger, a concession by Antonio Conte that plan A had failed. Indeed, while Chelsea had the better chances and the best of the play, this felt like a more pleasing night for Arsenal. Some of the scorelines between these teams in recent years: Chelsea 6, Arsenal 0, Arsenal 0, Chelsea 3, Arsenal 1, Chelsea 4, would have negated the worth of a second leg. Instead, going level to a rematch at the Emirates, Arsenal are right in this. Much will depend, of course, on the team Wenger is able to field. Will Sanchez be in the pale blue of Manchester City by then? Will Jack Wilshere be fit, having left the field injured after 57 minutes here? He walked off, which we might take as a good sign had Wilshere not once announced he was fine after completing 59 minutes of an England friendly against Denmark, only to discover he had a fractured left foot. You never know with him. Here, he suffered a problem with his left ankle after blocking a cross from Danny Drinkwater. He had treatment, tried to continue, sat down on the pitch, walked off. Alexis Sanchez was not included in Arsenal's starting 11 and the Chilean wore a glum look on his face during the warm-up. The Chilean, who is widely expected to join Manchester City either this month or in the summer, attempted an overhead kick while Wenger's movements were restricted by the snug confines of the press box. Antonio Conte was animated down below. Both managers watched on with serious looks on their faces during a goalless first quarter of this two-legged encounter. Wilshere captained Arsenal and, playing his normal high-energy game, he made an early challenge on Cesc Fabregas. Arsenal defender Shkodran Mustafi gets to grips with Chelsea forward Alvaro Morata during the stalemate at Stamford Bridge. 4 quarters. Arsenal and Chelsea have drawn in each of their 4 meetings this season: 1-1 in the Community Shield, 0-0 at Stamford Bridge and 2-2 at the Emirates in the league. The Chelsea supporters jeered him, heartlessly and with scant concern for the bigger picture. Wilshere had just been getting into his stride again, and that is good for England, as well as the player in Arsenal. He was excellent in the first half, and few of his countrymen can play with his vision and speed of thought in midfield. He was a step above his opposite number Drinkwater, who was withdrawn soon after, too, but for different reasons. Chelsea had the best of it, not least in the second half when they came out with renewed purpose. Andreas Christensen should have scored with a free header at the far post, after David Ospina had come for the ball and found his way blocked, while Victor Moses and Marcos Alonso came close with shots. The fact remains, though, this was a good result for Arsenal. Perhaps it would do a number of managers good to observe a game from the press box, if only to dispel a few myths about their character. You know how we imagine Wenger has this benign, rose-tinted view of his players. Nothing they do is wrong. It's always the fault of the referee. It isn't like that. First shows of emotion, palms slammed down on the blue table, a whack on the metal bar that houses the strip lighting, were invariably in reaction to mistakes by Arsenal. A tame, short free kick when something more imaginative was called for. Some sleepy defending. Wilshere will no doubt have been on the watch list of England boss Gareth Southgate, who sat next to assistant Steve Holland. Southgate was perhaps also keen to check on Chelsea midfielder Drinkwater and Arsenal youngster Ainsley Maitland-Niles. The first chance of the game fell to Arsenal's Alexandre Lacazette midway through the first half, but he shot powerfully over David Ospina, spilled a hopeful Victor Moses effort, but gathered at the second attempt under pressure from Alvaro Morata. Moses forced another save out of Gunners goalkeeper Ospina moments later when he cut inside onto his weaker left foot. Arsenal midfielder Alex Iwobi started his second game in 4 days despite reports of some recent unprofessional behaviour. Sanchez, covering his head with a hood from his coat, cut a frustrated figure in the away dugout as he watched the action. The former Barcelona star watched on with his arms folded while he attempted to blow a bubble with some chewing gum. Later, he warmed to a familiar theme with cries of "What?" every time Alvaro Morata Hazard went down. Those seated in front of him reported the sort of kicking to the framework of the seats that Tony Adams and Steve Bold meted out to strikers. Certainly once Wenger noticed he could see every incident replayed on the press seat television monitors. For a while, the Chelsea fans forgot his presence, too. When they remembered, they mocked him. "Arsene Wenger, we want you to stay," they chorused, trying to get a glimmer of recognition. A reaction neither came. What did they expect, these noisy boys? Do they think somebody who has taken charge of more Premier League games than every other manager in the top flight put together gets distracted by a bit of shouting? Wenger stayed laser-focused throughout. The intensity with which he studied the game was almost startling. He will never be able to use that excuse about not having seen a controversial incident again, though. He plainly does not miss a thing, the crafty sod. Not that there was too much to absorb in comparison to the last meeting of these teams. That was a metaphorical rollercoaster ride, a 2-2 draw that could have seen 10 goals shared. Here, chances were limited. In the second minute, Hazard found Morata, who ran out of pitch and hit the side netting. Chelsea paraded new £15 million January signing Ross Barkley in front of their supporters during the half-time interval. Former Everton playmaker Barkley, who waved at his new fans, is eligible to feature for Chelsea in future Carabao Cup games. Arsenal were dealt an injury blow early in the second period when 26-year-old skipper Wilshere was unable to continue. Midfielder Wilshere, who was replaced by sub Mohamed Elneny, looked in pain after blocking a Drinkwater cross with his leg. From there it was 20 minutes before either side mustered a shot at goal, an underwhelming effort from another big-ticket signing. Wilshere put Alexandre Lacazette through, but his shot was hopeless, rash, wild and high. The opposite of what Wenger, or any manager, would have wanted from a marksman. Chelsea dominated from there, with Moses shooting on sight around Ospina. He came close twice and Christensen should have done better with 2 headers. This was another match with a safety net of the video referee, but its worth came largely in confirming what had not happened, rather than what had. So, a tussle between Callum Chambers and Cesar Azpilicueta, which ended with the Chelsea man on the turf while waiting for an Arsenal corner, was judged worthy of a conversation with the pair, no more. And Ainsley Maitland-Niles' fall after a challenge by Moses was viewed as the result of evasive action rather than contact. Then, with 2 minutes to go, Cesc Fabregas fell under pressure from Danny Welbeck. Play continued, the ball went out for a corner, then Martin Atkinson delayed delivery. Clearly, he was getting a steer remotely. The fans waited in anticipation. Wenger looked on intently but without emotion. His monitor had told him long ago that Welbeck got a touch on the ball. As Atkinson was also informed, eventually. Handy place to be, sometimes, the press box. Chelsea began to dominate and Morata twice came close to breaking the deadlock, including with one shot from a tight angle. Lacazette didn't enjoy his best game, touching the ball just 19 times, and it was no surprise when he was replaced by Sanchez. Despite Sanchez coming on, Chelsea continued to look the more dangerous team, and Andreas Christensen missed a chance on field. Official Martin Atkinson let the game flow with no big pauses despite the video assistant referee system being in use.